going out to 2020 that was lit.
Oh
You
my
know,
goodness.
part of it was lit, part of it was on fire. But we are grateful nonetheless that we have survived another year. We have gotten through it, good, bad, or the ugly, or indifferent, I like to say. So, we have been on this mission going through Lisa's book, No Matter What. We are now up to the next muscle, which is developing your honesty muscle. So far, we have discussed your understanding muscle, your faith in yourself muscle, your take action muscle. Last week, your know like I know muscle. Well, this week, we're going to talk about your honesty muscle. Sometimes we are not honest with who? Yourself. Yourself. So often we coast along in our lives, so reluctant to face the truth, even avoiding the truth, right? And as a result of avoiding the truth, what do? We repeat old destructive patterns of behavior, which in turn compounds mistakes. Instead of creating the success, we make a mess. So think about it. If you're not willing to look at where you are, how can you get to where you want to go? I mean, it really requires acknowledging your present situation fully, all of it, which requires a level of honesty that most people don't even choose to embrace. So this honesty muscle, y'all better put yourself on mute for us hearing all y'all conversation. So your honesty muscle in particular is important if you want to make progress in your life no matter what. So the first step is to look unflinchingly at your circumstances. Face your reality, no matter how unpleasant, no matter how painful it is. And then once you have a crystal clear picture of your current situation, the next step is how did you participate in creating it? Your own part, without any excuse or blame. Just think about how you participated in creating your current situation. Only then can you successfully plot a course to a higher level of success, joy, and accomplishment. Now, I don't want you to confuse being honest with yourself with beating yourself up, because that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is a lot of people, they beat themselves up instead of getting the truth. And this is why so many people shy away from self-honesty, right? So we want you not to be afraid to admit where you are, whether you consider those mistakes or learning opportunities or whatever. You want to admit where you are, but it doesn't mean that you're weak or that you should be ashamed or that you should be blaming anything or anyone. Just be open and honest. And true honesty also includes compassion, that also allows you to acknowledge the good in yourself along with the shortcomings, right? And by doing that, that allows you to identify any habitual problems that you might have, any thinking or feeling or behaving that doesn't serve you. It will allow you to honor yourself and celebrate yourself in preparation for shifting those patterns, because we are all living in patterns. Sometimes, we are just repeating the same thing. The players might change, the faces might change, but it's the same pattern over and over again. And you keep noticing, I keep ending up here. How come I keep ending up here? It is you creating the same pattern over and over again. And so when your honesty muscle is fully developed, you'll be able to be honest with other people about your life too, in areas that you even still working to improve. You know, you won't have to hide what you've been through. You'll be able to tell the truth without fear because you realize that other people's opinions of you do not define who you are. In fact, it ain't even none of your business. What other people think about you. You will begin to stand in the power, yet a humble and self acceptance of finally being able to show the world who you are, the unadulterated, unrestricted, and totally free you. So I'm talking through the highlights of Lisa Nichols, and she talks about how she thought because of being molested, she was looking for love in all the wrong places. Ended up getting pregnant by a man who ended up in jail, and she just was so much beating herself up because here she is not loving herself, and because of that lack of self-love ended up being in a relationship with a man who ended up going to jail, and she was pregnant. And what kind of life is this that she's leading? Like, I never wanted to be a single mom with a husband, with a man, and with my kid's father in jail, but that was her life, and she was so embarrassed by it that she didn't even tell her family where he was. She just kept that whole thing to herself. So the I'm not alone question is, where in your life are you hiding? Are you glossing over problems in a relationship or a job, or ignoring a deteriorating financial or health situation? Sometimes we close our eyes and stick our fingers in our ears, steering clear of the truth at all costs. Is that you? Lisa definitely said it was her because she was really on the lookout for the perfect guy, and she never found him because she lacked self-love and self-awareness. And so she felt like Isaac might not have been Mr. Right, but he truly was Mr. Right now. He was not the man that she wanted to have a baby with. She was 27 years old and pregnant, and the man who she was pregnant with was where? In jail. And that wasn't her story. And so the I'm not alone question is, have you ever been so deep in your misery story that even when others in your life could see the positive in your situation, you remain stuck in your dependency and gloom? Sometimes we even hide from the truth by ignoring the light, by staying in a dark place, rejecting the outpouring of support from others, even distancing ourselves from them to avoid feeling their love and care. Is that you? Hiding from the truth? Hiding from your truth, not sharing your truth. Well, eventually she had her baby, and her son's father came to the hospital just before he went to jail. And her family jumped right in, started helping her. She settled into this new life, but she never talked about him being in jail. She was devastated by that. So devastated by that. She says she couldn't believe that this was happening. Her son's father was in jail, and now the criminal justice system was a part of her world. What more could I be ashamed of? I'm already ashamed of being pregnant. Now the father of my child is in jail. She wanted to sympathize with him, but she surely was feeling her own self being ashamed of the choices that she made. When she grew up, she lived across the street from the police station, and she saw them bringing people in and out. And she said, I would never have a baby's father that would be in jail, or she would never be the baby mama of a thug. And here she was, now pregnant by a man that was in jail, which dragged down her whole self-esteem. Her sense of disgrace was so deep that she literally kept that dirty little secret. And what she learned, and what we all learn, is that secrets drain your energy. And it takes so much effort to keep a secret, whether you are telling a full out lie or simply just withholding the full truth. Because on the deepest level, living in dishonesty is actually harder than living in integrity. You are truly going against your whole grain. When you're out of integrity, it's no way for you to grow or to expand. You just can't. Because the energy that you're using to keep the secret in place is the exact same energy you need to propel yourself forward in life. And so you can't expend the energy in two places. So you can't do it simultaneously. So for every moment you spend suppressing your truth or creating and living a lie, you're taking your time, your energy, and resources away from developing your power and expanding who you are. And guess what? You cannot get that time back. Once you have relinquished that time, it is gone forever. So, what's worse, when you hide the truth about yourself for too long, the truth becomes foreign to you. You begin to lose sight of who you really are. How can you live in your life when you're concealing yourself in the darkness of deceit? And sometimes people tell a lie so long they begin to believe their own lies. The truth has gotten so far away. So the I'm not alone question is, have you started believing the stories you sometimes tell to make yourself feel better? When we rewrite history, we lose opportunity to learn from the past. Is that you? So finally, after, Lisa had the baby, he called and asked if she could bring the baby to the jail. I don't know about you guys, but I have had a jail visit a time or two in my life. And baby, it is not pleasant. You absolutely want to go see your loved one, but the amount of humiliation that you have to experience, I think once you do it once, you like, nah, I see you when you get out. And that's what she experienced. I experienced it too. I remember I was 12 years old going to see my cousin, and they pat you down, they take off the baby's diapers, you take off your shoes, and the jails in Philadelphia, if you have on certain clothes, they won't let you in. They're like, oh, you can't wear that halter top in here, or you can't wear those holy jeans in here, so you got to be a certain way when you come in here. And the people that are visiting sometimes are treated worse than the criminal. Like, I'm not the criminal here. But that's how it was treated. She was treated. That's how I was treated. And a lot of people are treated that way. But what happened was, on her way home from the jail, she started to think to herself that things have got to change. And they have to change fast. Have you been in a position where you needed to change and needed to change fast? What is Kemp and Lynn talk about? Y'all in their conversation? Because I'm kind of in their conversation too. So she said that everything needed to change. So she was trying to figure out how it needs to change. So think about your life right now. Are there things in your life that you need to change? Well, it's time to really have this heart to heart with yourself. For the first time, Lisa decided to have this heart to heart with herself. And we've all been there. For the first time in years, take a step back. Take a good look at your life and the role that you had in creating the life that you're living. Lisa not only spoke to the situation, but she spoke it out loud. And this is what she said. The reality is that you have a beautiful baby boy whose father is in jail. Although you like to think you are the victim and tell others that story as well, the total truth is that you're in this situation because of your own choices. You're the one who's responsible here. And sometimes we really have to tell ourselves these stern, hard truths in order to move forward. Sometimes hearing such blunt, open candor about yourself coming from yourself is shocking. And even for Lisa, she started to cry. But Even in her tears, she stood strong in the truth, in her truth. Just stay strong in your truth. And with the tears rolling, she stood in it and started to make decisions for herself, to be better for herself, to be better for her child. And so she said to herself, "You're better than this." Making decisions from hurt, pain, and fear instead of from who you really are. And so, even though you may have made mistakes in the past, it's not too late to change what happens next. Let's bounce back and keep moving because we can do that. We can absolutely do that. She felt like she was pleading with herself to save her own life. Do you need to save your own life? Are you in a position where you need to save your own life? And if so, what is that? But this acknowledgement of where you are will open the door. It will open the door inside of you, allowing the healing to begin at the soul level. The things that you've been holding on so tightly to, the rationalizations, the excuses. These things can not only affect you mentally, but can affect you physically too. And when you finally let them go, you can start to relax a little and be ready to accept the reality and everything that comes with it. With honesty, you will gain a new sense of power. So the "I'm not alone" question is, have you ever hit rock bottom or someplace close to it and known that the only way you were going to stand back up and turn things around was to get to the nitty gritty, unadulterated truth with yourself and about yourself? So now let's find the dot. You know, you go to the mall, right? And you looking for Macy's because Macy's got an 85% off everything in the store sale. Well, not really. Can you imagine that? You at the mall, Macy's has a sale, right? And you got to get to Macy's, but you don't know what Macy's is. So you go to the big board, right? And you look for the board, you see Macy's. Macy's is up there to the left, right? And you're like, okay, so how do I get to Macy's? So then what do you look for? You look for the dot that says what? You are here. So if I'm here and Macy's is over there, how do I get there? You have to plot a course. Well, there's no difference in where you are in your life. You are here right now in this moment. And so once you find the dot that says, this is where I am, the only way to make the connection from where you are to where you're trying to get to is you have to navigate a course between those two spots, right? So now that we know where we are, you know, we're going to create, we're now going to know that we're where we are and where we're going. And that is going to allow us to create a clear-cut starting point and ending point.
Here, go ahead and eat.
But far too often, people don't want to really discuss where they are. They think it's too private or too personal or too painful. And yet, this is exactly what will support the journey to your goal. To dig into what you feel is too private, too personal, or too painful. You have to dig in there in order for you to get to that ending point. So how do you do that? Take a minute, look in the mirror, even if the mirror is not even really there. Let's see. Kim, can you put your phone on mute, sir? Thank you. So, you know, you want to take a look in the mirror, identify what is going on in your life right now without judgment. Don't judge yourself. And after that, you really can begin to notice any patterns that you are currently repeating, both the good ones and the not so good, and own them, especially the ones that have had consequences for you. owning the role that you play in your life, whether the role is right or wrong, happy or sad, is the most empowering action that you could ever take. So through it, it could be uncomfortable and sobering, sometimes even excruciatingly painful, depending on your level of honesty and the outcomes that you've created. But this is what is going to begin to slide you from the passenger seat of your life to the driver's seat of your life. And once you've done that, you're going to start to figure out what you really want to do with your life and where you're trying to go. And you can have these, what she called carefrontations, these conversations that you may need to have with people in your life. She learned that in her life, she created all of these things, and these patterns she created over and over and over again. And building this honesty muscle, you become more accustomed to being honest with yourself and other people. You feel less need to hide your truth from other people. You can be authentic to yourself and the people around you, at home, at work, or wherever you are. And because she told this truth out loud, when her son was 8 years old and people asked him where his father was, he was able to, with love, tell them that his dad was in jail, that he was a good man that made a poor choice. And that really made her cry, because she knew that he needed to be able to answer that question. And that helped him to learn to live in honesty too. And so we all have stories about things that have gone to the left in our lives. And, in reading her book, she talks about being molested when she was young. And because of that molestation, it led to sexual promiscuity. And that happens to a lot of people. And so she shares that story in order to help other people to get through that. She shares it as needed. And sometimes, we feel like some of the things that have happened to us are just so terrible that we press it down, and it affects how we show up in the world. It affects how we perceive ourselves and how other people perceive us, because we really want to be accepted. We want to be loved. We want to be admired despite our flaws, right? And the funny thing is, when you're honest with yourself and have compassion for your own weakness, you naturally will begin to love yourself more. It makes it easier for you to be honest. This self-disclosure and self-love it helps you to really begin this process of getting to the true, authentic you. Standing in your truth is a concrete demonstration of self-love. An even greater demonstration is when you're willing to tell the hard truths out loud with no thoughts, no matter what anybody else's think. Remember this: somebody else's perception of you does not determine who you are, and is simply an opinion and has nothing to do with you. And when you are able to and affirm and confirm yourself, other people's negative opinions of you become meaningless and have less and less influence on yourself and your behavior. You'll find when you share yourself fully with those around you, is that their love and admiration for you expands. Your truth becomes liberation for other people. It frees them to find and share their own truth. And I know that to be true because I'm always telling my stuff, Jen. I remember having conversations about being fearful about fixing my credit and reviewing finances and all that kind of stuff, being afraid to walk in the bank because I didn't want to talk about it. Didn't want to talk about it. It wasn't anything that we grew up talking about, and I was so embarrassed to even confront it. But now, in the process of confronting it, so many other people have reached out and said, "Girl, what did you do?" Because I'm in that same boat. And so you're being open and honest will empower other people to be open and honest about their own life and the things that they need to do. A lot of us are walking around blindfolded and gagged, too afraid to see and speak the truth. And the fear has paralyzed your growth. And so, in sharing these stories, Lisa's story, my story, things that are uncomfortable to tell sometimes, but doing it in a way helps to build my honesty muscle and helps other people to build theirs. When you tell yourself the truth and love yourself enough to share your truth with others, you really find peace. And that is true. I've been sharing my truth for years now. And knowing which part of your history you don't want to repeat. Fearlessly addressing it and then giving yourself permission to move on allows you to begin an adventure in a whole new road filled with far more freedom and joy than you can ever imagine. And I can tell you, the more that I am in that space, creating a daily practice where I find the dot, like every day, get up and identify where you are starting from, the areas of thought, feeling, spiritual life, relationships, health, finances, everything. Where are you in the morning when you wake up? Other days might not be as comfortable, but love yourself through whatever it looks like. Use the other muscles you've been working on, your understanding muscle, your faith in yourself muscle, your take action muscle, your I know like I know muscle. And whenever you are driving or doing errands, just have a conversation with yourself. I talk to myself all the time and I answer back. So I don't answer back. That's probably not a good idea. I don't answer back. Am I answering back? I'm answering back. So you probably answer back too. Have those conversations with yourself. Take stock of where you are. Face your challenge and celebrate your wins. We don't celebrate ourselves enough. Being honest with yourself has just as much to do with uh, accepting the breakthroughs and accepting the breakdowns at the same time. Looking at yourself in the mirror can really help you to determine who you are and where you're going, helping you to face the truth about any situation that you might be in and accepting the greatness that you have within yourself as well. You know, when we lie to ourselves, we play small in our lives. We play safe by settling for less than we know that we can be or have. We end up hiding our dreams, hiding our aspirations behind mask of mediocrity, people pleasing, conforming to what people think you should be. But this mask can be uncomfortable for you to wear at some point because eventually the mask will make you feel like some Godzilla living in a small apartment because you're too big for it. So developing your honesty muscle requires courage, but no matter what you've done or not done in the past, and whatever challenges that you're facing now, the only way to build a strong future is to stop living in denial. Stop telling yourself partial truths or lies. That's only going to get you so far. Sooner or later, you're going to run into a brick wall. So strengthen your honesty muscle by these four things. The first thing is be willing to take an unflinching inventory of what works and doesn't work in your life. Two, take responsibility for your part in creating your situation. Three, addressing the things that don't work with detachment and clarity. And lastly, embracing yourself enough to share the truth with others, with your rocket booster friends to start with, people who are going to be on your side. And so we've talked about life wheels before, but I want you to make a quality of life chart. And on this quality of life chart, you're just going to note these areas: health, and you're going for each area, you're going to put the number 1 to the number 5. Number 1 is that it is in the worst shape. 3 is about an average. And 5 is perfect. So you're going to rate your health 1 to 5. 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. You're going to rate your relationships and family. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. You're going to rate your finances and career. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best, and anywhere in between. Your emotional state. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your spiritual state. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Your intellectual development, personal development, where are you? 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. The next area, the area of service, community service. What kind of ways are you showing up for your community? 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And lastly, play and recreation. We work hard, we should play hard too. So how are you in that area? 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. And then take a stock of what it is. This allows you to look at your areas, prioritize the areas that you need to make some, do some adjustments in. Look at the numbers and ask, where are you strong? Where are you weak? Are you sacrificing the quality of many of the areas for just one? Which of these do you feel are important or unimportant, and why? And take some time to discover your real priorities and prioritize that thing. The next thing I'm going to give you is a way to play the reversal game. So all too often when we're angry at people or something or some circumstance, we'll hear ourselves saying, I can't, I don't, nothing is working for me, or I wish. And statements like these really set us up for impossibility. So rather than, things being possible. So we try to place the blame on anything but ourselves for our situation. And so even if we're simply blaming the world or the universe in general. So the reversal game will help you to shift that perspective to see your part in how you're creating the situation. So think of a problem that you're having, right? In your life, or something that makes you irritated. It may be something that you've already written down before. For instance, you cook for your family and you feel really frustrated that you can't lose any weight, or your daily to-dos are so demanding and exhausting that you never have time for self-care. So write those annoyances down as you think of them. And in the first example, you could write, I can't lose weight because I never have time to work out, and I have to cook all the meals for my family. Now consider the reversal of this statement. Remove any can'ts, never, no, or any other negative word and change the sentence around. So it reads in the positive. There's no limits. So this is what you're going to say. I can lose weight because I can find time to work out and cook all the meals for my family. Notice that the reversal statements create a different energy. They empower you, right? So repeat those statements 5 times and watch how the energy shifts and how your stress is naturally reduced because you've taken the negative part out of it. You may even find a path to get you to what you want because you've opened yourself up for other unexpected ways. Another way to do this is to reverse it like this. Let's say you feel you aren't being appreciated by your spouse. Write the sentence, my wife or husband should appreciate me more. Now write the exact opposite of that sentence, as in, I should appreciate my wife or husband more, or I should appreciate myself more. Can you see these statements as true? How does it feel or look at? What you can do in these arenas rather than how you've been acting upon it lately. And the last thing I'm going to give you is be your own counselor. Look at the same thing we wrote about, cooking food, not working out, or your spouse should appreciate you more, right? Now pretend that a friend or family member came to you with that same issue. And you know that even stuck, they can get past it. Now, what I want you to do is figure out what you would tell that person. What thought would you have them to focus on other than the problem? Often we can clearly see what other people should do when we can't see what to do in our own situation. So take yourself out, pretend that your friend is having that same problem, tell them what you would tell them, but then tell it to you. And then act on your own advice. So this process allows you to detach from the whole situation, which takes away the emotional charge that comes with whatever it is. And that will allow you to shift the perspective and bring a logical light on what the next step should be. And then the last thing is really just share it with your rocket booster friends. You know, we took the time out to identify who those are. And if you missed that, you want to make a list of your friends who you consider your rocket booster friends, right? And once you've made the list, you're going to take your finger and you're going to touch each one and you're going to rate it from a 1 to a 10. 10 being the best, 1 being the lowest. And then once you have gotten all your 10s, those 10s are now your rocket booster friends. Not to say that the other people are not your friends. They're just not the ones that you're going to share your complete self with when it comes to growing yourself or growing in your life. You know, building honesty is so important. You know, once you have built this honesty muscle, you can show up in your life differently. If things do not serve you, you are able to relieve those things and let those things go. We have to be honest with ourselves. Here we are rounding out another year, and this year has not been easy. Good morning. This year has not been easy for anybody. But again, some people have had their best year ever, and some people have had their worst year ever. I can tell you that I have had my best financial year ever, but it was the worst year because I lost my mom in it. But I'm choosing to lean to all of the positive things that have happened. I'm choosing to remember the best things about my mom and what she will want me to do and have and be. How can I make her proud? How can I continuously be the cycle breaker for my family? That's where my focus is. My focus is not on what went wrong. My focus is on what went right. And being honest with myself in where I want to live, how I want to show up in the world, what is the work that I want to do, how do I want to be with my grandchildren and my children. Really taking a hard look and saying, maybe I don't want to be where it's cold. Maybe I want to move where it's warm. What is my ideal life? Being honest with yourself about what your ideal life is. Is it with who you with now? Is it living where you're living now? Is it working the job you're working now? Is it doing the business that you're doing now? What is it? Ask the hard questions. Stand in your powerful truth. Because in standing in your powerful truth, you will absolutely get to the best life ever. I feel like my life is magic and miracles every day. I get to do this work. I get to. I don't have to, but it makes me happy to be here sharing this information with you, hopefully changing many lives by putting information that you already know. This isn't anything that you haven't heard before, but sometimes we need to hear it over and over and over, and eventually we will be brave enough, confident enough to walk in and stand in your truth. Absolutely doing the work on your soul, doing the soul work, healing the emotional baggage, releasing it, forgiving, so that you can move into the next spaces for 2021. They said 2020 was a year of 2020 vision. Did y'all see what y'all needed to see in 2020? You got a chance to stay home with your spouse or your significant other every day, day in, day out. Did you like it? It was 2020 vision, right? You got to stay in the house with your children and see what their teachers see every single day, how they behave in a school setting. You got to see it, right? You got to see how your children behave for other people. You got to see it. 2020 vision, right? You got to work from home. How'd you like that? Did you like working from home? Would you prefer working from home doing your own on your own business? Did you see it? 2020 vision. Did you get the 2020 vision? I surely got the 2020 vision, and I learned a lot about myself, my life, what happens when the door is closed and you can't go outside. Because even if you went outside, the things that you normally do, you can't do, right? So if we got nothing else as we close 2020, we got 2020 vision. Back to you, Mr. Satcho.
Wow. Come on now. Y'all give it up for Darlaina. You know what? I'm just like listening to you. Me and Lynn was over here just having a conversation on one thing that you said. And just know that you are the bomb.
Thank you. Listen, I've been working on this. You know, this is a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. As I share the things that I share, I'm only sharing what I've learned from and the things that I'm doing. You know,
okay.
I'm not speaking from a place of foreign. I'm speaking from my own work, building my own bounce back muscles, my take action muscles, I know like I know, my understanding, you know. And when you build these things around yourself, you show up differently. You have more compassion for people who ain't there. Some people, you know, they're not doing their self-work, and you know they're just not there. And so because you know, because you know that they're not there, you can give them the same grace that you ask God for every single day. You can say, listen, I know they're not there yet. So because they're not there, I can, you know, give them the grace and not pay nothing attention to what they're saying, because they're not speaking to me. They speaking from a place of hurt, of anger, of self-hate. They speaking from there, you know. And most of the time when people are doing that, it's from a hurt place inside themselves. You know, they say hurt people. That really is true.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That is so
we grow together, wow. Right? We grow together.
Yeah.
We grow together.
That is so you know, I'm listening to it. Is there anybody that has a question for Darlaina? Or anybody want to say something based on what she said today? Can anybody relate to what she said today? How about that?
I have a question. Hi, this is JT. She gave a list when she was reading.
Yes.
And it was be willing to take inventory of your life. I think number 3 was addressing the truth. I missed number 2.
Okay,
and
hold on.
I think it might have been one more if it was a number 4, if I'm mistaken.
Sure. Those 4 things were be willing to take an unflinching inventory of what works and doesn't work in your life. Number 2, take responsibility for your part in creating your situation. Number 3, addressing the things that don't work with detachment and clarity. And last, embracing yourself enough to share your truth with others. One of my Facebook family, Atia, she said, usually the advice I give to others is something I should be doing myself. That's helped her a lot. And so, and it's true, when you take yourself out of it, detach from the emotions, and just sit the situation up front, you really can look at it with detachment. That's why they say take yourself out and pretend like it's a friend asking you the question that you're asking yourself, and then answer the question as the friend. And by doing that, you take the detachment out and you can find the answer.
Yes.
A loving answer. Yes. A loving answer.
Yes. And that is so, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna give y'all the one that I always tell y'all. Remember when I was on the plane?
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
And the lady, remember that when I'm on the plane and the couple across from me is like really loving up on each other, and I was like, why don't they just go out there? God, and it just pissed me off. I was feeling, I'm like, and then you had that, but why am I feeling like this? This is what I really want to know. Why?
Yes.
It's like Darlaina said, why you feel like that, dude?
Yeah.
Like
what is the problem?
Yeah, what's the problem?
And a lot of times it's because you don't have the same thing. You want what they have.
Oh my God.
And so, because you don't have it, it's like, ew, get a room, go somewhere, nobody want to see all that. And they just like in their own world, not paying nobody attention, living their own truth, no matter how you see it or how you feel about it. This is us, and like it or leave it, we here.
Wow. That's good.
And that's an amazing open place to be, to be in a place where you can live your life however you see fit, without fear of judgment, without fear of consequence, that you can live your unadulterated self. And that is a free place to be. When you are, let's say, living in a not ideal living situation, maybe living with somebody that you have fallen out of love with, that is a very uncomfortable place to be. And so by taking the time to really address that situation, and then weigh out the best way to fix it, and then really fix it, because what you deserve is a good life. You deserve a good life. You deserve to live in a happy place. You deserve to live with happy people. If you don't change a current situation that is hurtful, if you don't change it, can you imagine living in it another 3 years, another 5 years, another 10 years, living in unhappiness? Listen, broken hearts come from broken love.
Wow.
Heart disease is manifested by broken hearts. Strokes happen from unhandled emotional things. Heart attacks happen. Your heart is attacking you because it wants you to do something different. So your body will show up and show out if you don't fix it. So you gotta fix it. It means your very life, your emotional life, your spiritual life, your physical life will be impacted if you don't get to living your happy life. So if you got to say bye to people, places, and things, just know that it's for your best.
Amen.
For your best life.
Deidre.
2020 vision.
Will be lit. Deidre. I think she muted herself. So, with that being said, Darlaina, take us home. Give it up for Darlaina again. And I ain't going to say nothing, but take us on up out of here.
So, all I can say is that, it's your life. You should live your best life possible. We want to do that. We got 2020 vision in 2020. And in the words of Mr. Kent Satchel and Life Changing Alliance, take control of your life, because if you don't, somebody else will, and you won't like it. Thank you, everybody. Bye for now.
Wow. Good night.